screen full of knowledge.
I'm just sitting in the studio just trying to get to you, baby.
Hello, beautiful people with beautiful minds full of imagination and thoughts that are ready to learn. This is more the educational side of the video where you mainly learn all your stuff rather than just watching my video. I'm just going to give some brief definitions for each of these um, topics that you see on the screen. Homeostasis is just any self-regulating process by which biological systems tend to maintain stability while adjusting to conditions that are optimal for survival. So, in simple terms, that just means the internal stability that an organism maintains while external conditions are fluctuating. Natural selection is the gradual process by which biological traits become either more or less common in a population. It's the adaptation and the gradual change in a population for the adaptation of natural things happening. Relation genetics is the study of distribution and changes of allele frequency in a population. In simple terms, that just means parents who have offspring. Uh, it it's the study of the regulation in certain genes and traits that occur more often within a population, more or less. As you see, this is a good example of genetic variation because you see the parents and their genes and how it relates to their offspring and the chances of what genes or traits they'll have and we can see how common it is for in that population. This is a good example for natural selection because, as you can see, these crows or birds or whatever they are right here, they're eating the green roaches because they're not as easily hidden as the brown roaches. As you can see, the brown roaches are um, closer in color to their background, so they're harder to see. And the more the more their roaches start to look like the brown ones to adapt and survive, that is natural selection. This one is a good example of homeostasis because even though the air temperature is going down, his internal temperature is staying the same. Even though he's running and his heart rate is increasing, as you can see, um, he is still maintaining a constant level of heat and everything else.
Homeostasis is really the basis of our wellness and our health. Homeostasis is a word that we use to describe how you respond internally to the external world that's always changing. So we can't just change in response to the external world. And a good example of homeostasis for mammals would be how they keep warm. So mammals will keep a constant body temperature even when the temperature outside drops or goes up. Cold-blooded animals, that's what we call them, they have homeostasis, but that isn't one of the forms of homeostasis that they have. So we have many, many internal mechanisms that are designed to turn on and turn off generally in response to changes in the environment. So if the temperature drops, we would turn on our cells to start working harder and generate heat. We would turn on some of our muscles underneath of our skin to make goose flesh, and we would turn on a brain mechanism that would make us shiver. Those are just three of the things that we would do to turn on in response to a drop in temperature in the environment.
Across the American Southwest, golden deserts dotted by cacti and brush stretch for miles. Yet here in New Mexico's Valley of Fire, the landscape changes dramatically. Patches of black rock interrupt the sand, remnants of volcanic eruptions that occurred about 1,000 years ago. The eruption spewed a river of lava more than 40 miles long across the desert. As the molten rock cooled, it darkened, leaving any creature dependent upon camouflage in serious trouble. In the complex battle of life, one of the constant struggles is between seeing and not being seen, the evolutionary game of hide and seek. And we've come here to the Valley of Fire in New Mexico, a battlefield, to find one of the tiniest soldiers and what it can teach us about how evolution works. Its light-colored fur concealing it from predators. But on dark lava, the same fur makes the mouse stand out, attracting the many creatures that see it as food.
These mice are the Snickers bar of the desert. They're eaten by foxes and coyotes and rattlesnakes and certainly by owls and maybe even occasionally hawks. And most of those predators are visual predators.
Genetic variation is a term used in biology classes a lot, and it actually refers to two different things depending on which level you're talking about. Genetic variation means that when you're comparing individuals within the same population, or if you're comparing two different populations, you'll see differences in their genes. Now, if you're talking about differences at the individual level, that means if you look at the same gene location, or locus as scientists like to say, you may see differences in the DNA sequence. For example, if we take a look at this person's DNA, maybe they have the sequence A, T, T, C, and so on and so forth, while somebody else has at this one spot a different base. So they have guanine instead of cytosine, which indicates a variation. Now that's looking at the DNA sequencing. You can also compare individuals and look at the versions of gene or allele that they have. For example, my friend Danielle, when she sticks out her tongue and attempts to roll it, she can't. I, on the other hand, have the allele for the tongue rolling gene, so I can. So that's variation within two individuals who are members of the same population. Now, between different populations, between two different ethnic groups, sometimes you'll see differences in the frequency of any one particular allele. And so if my friend Danny comes in, now he and I share a lot of similarities. We're both male, unlike me and Danielle, but if you compare our skin tone, he's got a slightly darker skin tone than mine. So that's an example of a genetic variation between different ethnic groups. That's genetic variation.
Are we recording? My fault. Let me get into my serious mode. Come closer, cameraman. Ready for my close-up? Thank you. We have a variety of topics to talk about, but for right now, we'll only focus on 3. Homeostasis, natural selection, and genetic variation. I shall now send it to my boy outside, and he'll talk more about one of the 3 topics. Thank you, Kai. And now we are here interviewing species that maintain homeostasis. How are you maintaining your homeostasis, sir? Don't try to run from the question, though. All right. It seems he's doing a pretty good job, being that he's still alive. Not anymore. All right. We'll also try to find some other people that maybe... Oh, here comes one now. How do you like maintaining homeostasis?
I don't think that's a good thing.
You don't think it's good?
No.
How do you think you live?
Off of oxygen.
Off of oxygen. So how what is homeostasis to you?
I don't know.
You don't know, but you don't think it's good. All right. So we got some
Candy.
Here, somebody else. What do you do while you're maintaining homeostasis?
What?
What do you do while you're maintaining homeostasis?
Maintaining homeostasis?
Yes, homeostasis. Do you know what homeostasis is?
Yes.
Yes.
How are you keeping up with that?
I breathe. I just live. Yes.
Are you taking it or are you having trouble?
I'm living great, actually. Yes. Yes.
This is why I live. Excuse me, ma'am. How are you doing maintaining homeostasis?
I sweat when I'm hot and I shiver when I'm cold.
Oh, really? So you're doing a pretty good job with it then. So even though it's like 7 degrees outside, you keep that 98.6 degree in your body.
Yes.
All right, so we got some good people. How are you feeling about genetic variation?
It's genetic variation.
Do you have any genetic variation?
My different from my family.
Yeah.
I wonder.
You know about genetic variation?
Not really.
Do you know what it is?
It has to do with genetics.
Yeah, it does.
No way.
What about animals? Do you have any pets?
I do have a pet.
Do they have any children?
No.
Do they?
They're brother and sister.
Oh, or do they differ from each other?
Yes.
They do? Did you get them separately or together?
Together.
Together, wow. So they have a lot of genetic variation.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's good. What's up?
You do that on me.
Because you don't know. All right, ready? Sir, how are you feeling about natural selection?
What do you mean?
Do you know what natural selection is?
No, I'm more feeling like this.
Really? Okay, well, in my video, I state that natural selection is about a species adapts to the environments around them.
Definitely, where you put most. I'll catch you next time.
Appreciate it, B. This is for school.
Energy, all that energy. White boy building on beat. White boy building on the beat. Energy. Yes, we are. Energy.
They turn.
Energy. Yes, we are. We're doing it. Energy.
Turn for the camera or not.
Energy.